Hi there, I'm Justin Pritchard, and today some big surprises from the latest version of one of Toyota's biggest sellers. This is the very new Corolla Hatchback, and it's a clean sheet design that amounts to the freshest new member of the Corolla family, and Toyota figures sort of a new standard in small cars. This machine capitalizes on the mighty Corolla name, and though it's typically considered a modest machine, make no mistake, Corolla is a sales superstar around the world and one of the most popular models in one of the most popular market segments in Canada. So what's on your screen here is little less than the best yet version of a small car icon. You've likely noticed that it's sporty, athletic, sculpted, detailed, and really a good bit ticked off looking thanks to that mean little mug it's got going on. There's little generic about it, and it might be one of the most instantly recognizable cars anywhere near this price. Whatever Toyota's been feeding their designers lately seems to be working. The cabin appearance impresses similarly. First, it's got this tidy and simple but upscale thing going on. Definitely some European influence here with the clean lines and nice materials, and a good use of contrasting, accenting, and textures to richen things up. Little that you can lay your eyes or fingers on inside is cheap or flimsy. Soft touch materials dial up the high-end feel, and it's dark and formal but sharp as a tack. And everything is on board. Radar cruise, automatic high beams, a backup camera, blind spot monitoring, a big and proud touchscreen interface is the visual centerpiece of the dash, automatic climate control, a wireless recharging pad for your phone, heated seats, a full driver computer readout for the instrument cluster, a push-button parking brake, Apple CarPlay, which I can't show you because I have an Android. There's even blind spot monitoring, radar cruise control with collision alert, lane departure alert with steering assist, and more. So whether you want all the gadgets, all the safety gadgets, or both, you're totally covered. So it's basically every feature that you probably want in a small car and more, and keeping that in mind, well, the asking price of this tester, which is the Corolla Hatchback SE with upgrade package, is like 24 grand. Now the product planning and marketing departments have done their homework to make sure that you find that to be a whole lot of great stuff for a very reasonable price. The driving enthusiasts out there will like this, a 6-speed manual transmission. The shifter has a long throw, but it's smooth, and the clutch is easygoing and light without feeling all squishy. And there's even automatic rev matching, which you can engage by hitting the IMT button down here if that's your thing. One of the best things about this manual transmission, aside from the fact that they've bothered to offer one when so many cars don't, is how it feels. There's some fine-tuning of the feel of the clutch and shifter and throttle off of one another, meaning that it's an easy gearbox to work with consistent smoothness right off the bat. If you're new to a manual transmission, this means that you'll be shifting like a pro in no time, and if you're a manual veteran, you'll likely find that it feels just right. It's attached to a new 2-liter 4-cylinder that has a very sporty nickname whipped up by the marketing department, who says this engine is called the Dynamic Force Power Plant. The Dynamic Force Power Plant. The Dynamic Force Power Plant. Cool name, though maybe a little misleading. First, there's little dynamic force imparted by the sound of this thing, which is fairly average and unremarkable and sometimes noisy. Despite this sporty nickname, this engine is primarily concerned with fuel efficiency and not snarly performance. Now that 7.5 liter per 100 kilometer average consumption is pretty darn thrifty, but the 168 horsepower punch requires that you use the full span of the rev range, which tops out at the better part of 7,000 RPM. And you'll need to use all of those to get the Corolla moving in any sort of hurry, and the last few of those revs can be pretty noisy. So this engine is most impressive for the fuel economy and refinement on offer when you drive it gently. End of the day, I expected a little more punch and maybe a nicer sound given the engine's name and numbers, though apparently that's not really the point. Functionality next. The cargo hold is a weak spot here. You've got limited space thanks to this high load floor, and limited room between the tailgate and the seat backs. You'll need to pack lightly for longer trips or camping, and this might be difficult for the family dog to jump up into as well. Note that for a few bucks more, the Honda Civic Hatchback gives you a snappier turbo engine and a far more useful and accommodating cargo hold if that's important. Rear seats fold flat for more space, of course, and when upright, you'll fit 2 adults in the rear seats just fine. Elsewhere, outward sightlines are decent, aided by a backup camera and blind spot monitor system to ease maneuvering in tight quarters. Drivers will find plenty of charging nearby and good at-hand storage, though the door pockets are on the smaller side and there's limited center console storage aside from the bin beneath the armrest or the cup holders. If you're a bit of a pack rat, you might wish for a touch more storage, though most should find the setup just fine. On rough and beat-up in-town roads, Corolla Hatchback feels dense and heavy-duty, not too sporty, not too soft, and most importantly, not like it's going to disintegrate beneath you when the going gets rough. There's minimal unwanted feedback through the steering either. It stays nice and smooth, so the ride quality over almost anything is top-notch, slightly sporty, and relatively refined throughout. On the highway, it's much the same, sporty without overdoing it, quiet enough that you won't need to raise your voice for a conversation until a good bit past the speed limit, and with steering that's quick enough to be worked with your fingers and wrists, but not so hyperactive that it feels nervous or twitchy. Brakes, further, offer strong stopping power and good initial bite with a slightly more precise than average feel at the pedal, which I liked. Basically, it rides and drives the way that you'd expect given the athletic body and upscale interior. By and large, it's equal parts sporty, comfortable, and relaxing. Gripes, aside from the limited cargo space and sometimes noisy engine, I found the headlight low beams to be good, not great, though the high beam performance is above average. Further, the central display screen graphics leave plenty to be desired, since the resolution is fairly low and the whole thing seems to only have about 4 colors of blue and gray. So, deal breakers? Well, probably not, aside from the fairly minor complaints and the fact that this is not the largest car that you can have for the money, and assuming that you can work with the limited cargo hold, then what you've got here in no uncertain terms is a great collection of the most in-demand features, fuel-saving implements, safety technologies, and styling touches in the segment today. There are at least a few other small cars out there now that will need to step up their game in order to compete with this, and others will follow suit, and that is all a very good thing for the shopper. So, if you're shopping here, this should definitely be on your radar, alongside some of my other favorites at this price point, which include the Hyundai Elantra and Honda Civic. Thanks for watching.